Hello, True Health Seeker, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Learn True Health podcast. When a listener writes me and it requests to have a specific expert on the show, I make sure that I do my best to fulfill that request. One of you wrote me and said, could you please interview a food prepper? And I thought that is an amazing idea. We should definitely have some food preppers on to teach us how we could utilize the skill of food prepping. So basically, food prepping looks like on a Sunday evening, preparing all the food for your family, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the next 3 or 4 days. It saves you so much time and so much money, and a lot of food ends up not going to waste. And especially because if you do this, you really can watch what you eat. You tend to go eat out less. Or have that sudden, oh, I feel like a craving for Chinese food, and then all of a sudden you've gone over budget, either calorically or monetarily. And so food prepping can help with dieting. It can help with staying on your health program. Those who are into weightlifting often will food prep to make sure they're eating enough throughout the day. And also, if you're just a really busy person that wants to save money and eat healthy, it's a really great strategy. I tend to not do it enough, and I always love it when I end up doing it. The best way that I do it, because I work from home and I live at home, work from home, is I will make a very large batch of, for example, brown rice or legumes or a tossed salad. I'll make a very large one, knowing that the next day we can use it in a different dish. So cook once, eat twice. With food prepping, you're cooking once and eating 25 times because you're in one go. You're making all of your breakfasts, all of your lunches, all of your dinners. But there's an art to it. And there's a lot of skills. And our guest today gets into the things that he learned along the way. He started teaching food prepping back in 2012 on Instagram. And he got quite a following. In fact, when I found him, he had about 250,000 followers learning from his food prepping skills. Now, what's really interesting is if you scroll down deep into his Instagram, you start to see the changes that have taken place over the last year. He went from being more just typical American diet, lots of meat and regular American food, to being completely plant-based. And isn't this wonderful? We have a lot of guests on the show that have been touting the benefits of going plant-based, and you don't have to 100% give up meat if you don't want to, but looking to add in more wonderful vegetables, and everyone could benefit from that. And so seeing these changes, I thought, wow, there's going to be a story here, isn't there? There's going to be a story as to why his whole family decided to go plant-based in the last year, and certainly there is. And that's why this interview has been broken up into 2 parts. So today's episode is his story. He's sharing about his health and what happened to him and why he went plant-based and the benefits that have happened for him and his family. So you're going to love hearing about how his children's health has improved, his wife's health has improved, his health has improved, and even his dog's health has improved because of their diet. So he shares a story. And we get into a bit of the mindset when it comes to, what he's teaching and how you can learn from him. And he says it all starts with your mindset when you're food prepping, and it makes sense once he shares it. And then part 2, the next episode right after this one, is going to be the continuation and the completion of this interview, where in that part we really get into his actual. Okay, what do you do in the kitchen? And what should you remember to do? What should you have in the kitchen? What tools do you want in the kitchen? And how to do it. So today's a lot of theory and story and learning more about our guests and the health benefits, which are wonderful stories. And then the next episode is more about the specific hands-on how-tos. And I'm sure he'll come back on the show to share more as we dive into this topic of food prepping. I certainly enjoyed interviewing him because I found his style of openness and kindness to be very refreshing. Now, I'd love to give a big shout out to our 3 latest Patreon supporters, Camille, Laura, and Deborah. Thank you so much for joining us on Patreon to support the Learn True Health podcast. If you love this podcast and you love learning from it, please consider being a Patreon supporter. You can choose to pledge $1 a month, $5 a month, $25 a month. And at the $5 a month or more level, you will receive every episode of the Learn to Health podcast commercial free. And you'll receive it before anyone else will. I post it there first for all our Patreon supporters. And at the $25 a month level, you join our book club, the Learn to Health book club. Now, I'm going to be sending out the books soon. I'm going to be sending them out at the beginning of April. So if you'd like to jump in on April's book, then please join Patreon. You can go to learntohealth.com, and in the menu in the upper right corner, you can click join us on Patreon, or you can go to patreon.com and search for Learn True Health. Thank you so much, and have yourself a fantastic rest of your day. Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 243. Well, today we're in for such a delicious episode. We have with us the expert in meal prep, Alex Torres. He is a sensation on Instagram. You can follow him at Meal Prep Mondays. Alex, I'm really excited to have you on the show.
Me too. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. I had a listener reach out to me a few weeks ago, and she said, could you please have someone on the show that teaches meal prep? Because she's been listening to our show and learning about how to eat healthy, but how in the world can we eat healthy when we have a family and a job and a life, right? And we've gone from going through the drive-through to all of a sudden now having to cook every meal, and it takes forever, right? Well, the natural
Yes.
solution is meal prep, and man, you've been rocking it. It took me forever to scroll all the way back to your first Instagram post, which was September 23rd, 2012. You've been doing this for quite a while. I'm really excited to learn from you today how we can implement all of the meal prep guru secrets that you will impart upon us so that we too can eat and be healthy. But first, I'd love for you to share your story. What led you to want to share meal prep with others, and also why did you start meal prepping for your family? Let's hear your story.
Sure, sounds good. So again, thanks for having me. Till 2012, yeah, 2012. We started with the kids, started having kids, and once you start having kids, I don't know, it seems like a trend, but the fathers start gaining weight, of course, the moms too, and it's a given, and then once you put that weight on, it's so easy to put it on, and it's so hard to get it off. So as time went on, Instagram was still at its beginning steps, and like I think it's just a couple of years in, and there was and believe it or not, the fitness community had already started to develop there, and yeah, I entered a giveaway that they were doing probably in 2014 maybe or something like that, or no, I'm sorry, it was 2012. Because that's when I actually started it. So it's actually 2 years prior to that I started to gain the weight basically. And then once I won after a whole bunch of people entered for this giveaway, it was a giveaway for a meal plan and like a fitness program and all that. And like I said, the people that I was winning it from, like their follower count wasn't nowhere near as it is now, but it was still very exciting. And out of supposedly, I think 700 people that entered, I won, basically. And I think once they emailed me the information, I saw the meal plan and I said, okay, this is great. I get to eat that and eat that and eat that. That's awesome. And then, I'm cooking every day. And just like anybody else, it's like feels like it's never ending. So literally the shower came in idea. I said, all right, let's look into the other people. Let's look into people that are already doing extremely well and find out what they're doing. So after looking into, some bodybuilders and in this, because I was heavy into bodybuilding at that time, I saw that they, meal prep's been around an extremely long time. It's just for our generation now we call it meal prep, but it's basically been going on for a while. And I said, geez, that looks like such a simple idea. Why don't I try that? I got to tell you that at that time, I was so appreciative of the workout program that they sent me, and I did it for the most part. But what did the most good for me was the meal plan. But I took it a step further and I said, let's see if we could meal prep this stuff. So as I went on, I started to look at the menu. I started to like minimize it a little bit, take out a couple of ingredients, and just simplify it. And I said, well, just let's see what happens when you cook in bulk. Let's see if this is really going to work. Let's see if this is going to work. I want to say about a month went by because that's like the time they gave us so that we can see results. And then I think I sent the pictures. The pictures are not there anymore because that Instagram page is gone, but my picture was there of the before and after. And if I'm sure if I go through it, I'll find it, maybe on my phone somewhere. But I lost the most weight from preparing meals. It
Nice.
was it was unbelievable. And so the person that I won the Instagram from, I contacted him and I said, thank you so much. Like, look at the results. And, and this person had a large Instagram account already. I had nothing. And I said, hey, I've got this. That's when the idea came to me in the shower. And I said, meal prep. I said, you know what? This guy's got a motivational page that, it's all fitness related. And I said, you know what? Let me check Instagram to see if there's anything like meal prep related. I checked everywhere for like meal prep Monday, meal prep Mondays, and all that. And in the showers where I came up with the idea for meal prep Mondays. Now, I mentioned it to my buddy. He thought it was a grand idea, so he's like, "Do it. I'll support you." And fast forward, I mean, I could tell you, I was waking up. So I started. You saw the first post. That literally was the first post, and then it goes on, and then I was sharing a lot of other people's, and then it just became this community thing. And then it took off. I remember waking up in the morning sometimes and I would see probably, I think up to one time I had like 1,800 followers that were overnight started following me.
Wow.
Yeah. And that would go on for weeks. And again, this was before Facebook bought Instagram though. And so things were it was like, just everything was very open. So now, fast forward till now, I had more kids. I gained more weight. And my weight fluctuated up and down because I would just like any human being, if we forget about things and then we like start eating, eating our pain away or our feelings away or whatever the case is. And then I would go back to meal prep. But then I started focusing more on fitness. And I was working out and working out and working out and working out, and I was not losing weight. Believe it or not, even though having this meal prep page, yeah, again, we're all human. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
We're all human. We're going to fall through those cracks and all that. And then I gained the most weight I ever did, and I was over 215, I believe, and I'm only 5'7". So, BMI that on Google if you want to see, or Google it and check out the BMI and see how that works out. It wasn't working good. Sadly, at my peak, I was still eating the same, and then I started to lose weight for absolutely no reason because I did not change how I ate. But I was noticing that I was eating less. And I think it was about, we're going on, I think it was like late 2015, early 2016, when I totally got hit with the blow of Crohn's disease in
Mm-hmm.
my office. And when I say it was a blow because it was my first time. I was I was eating a burger at the time, and I collapsed to the floor.
Oh my gosh.
It felt like I got hit by like Arnold Schwarzenegger in the stomach, full force,
Mm.
when I was least expecting it. And I woke up from the floor, and it was dark. out. Like the window was dark, the office was dark. And gosh, like
You
that's
passed
when I
out?
can think, yeah, that's when I can think back.
Wow.
And yeah, I passed it, and then I got up and I didn't know what that was, and I went home. Well, like I said, lots of medical studies. I think I've done, I don't know, 6, 7, or 8, exams. I can't tell you how many X-rays and CT scans and every other thing, and they couldn't find anything. So I lost about 30 pounds, 25 pounds, just like that. And I knew something was wrong, and I started going to the doctor, but I thought it was going to get better. It only got worse. The pain only got worse. I lost a lot of weight. I think I was down to probably, I want to say maybe 145, 140 from 215. So I don't know. I didn't even calculate what that was. I just know that it's the worst thing ever. Uh, it's probably one of the worst things ever, at least for me, that I've ever experienced in my life. And
Leading up to the Crohn's disease,
mhm.
did you have any symptoms or indications that you can look back on and see that you were sort of on the
Oof.
road to Crohn's disease, or were there stressors in your life that you were sort of ignoring or were accumulating over time that you can now look back and go, I can see that I was on the road to Crohn's disease based on my lifestyle and my diet and my stress, or did it really just come out of nowhere?
That's a great question. And 100%, there were signs everywhere. But you know what the funny thing is, Ashley, is that it's crazy. So now, after it happened to me, is when I look back and I
Sure.
pieced it all together.
Mhm.
And the thing is, for example, no one has ever suffered that from that in my family.
Mhm.
I'm the first one. So I couldn't say, hey, my uncle's going through that, or my aunt's going through that, or I didn't have anybody, no one
Right.
within my circle, or so there was no need for me to research that. To me, I was just overweight. Like, I was overweight, but as I find out more, I was just extremely inflamed. Like, I was
Mhm.
inflamed and overweight,
Mhm.
you know? And yeah, the inflammation signs were there. My appendix blew. And then after that, I had a problem, and the doctor, we went back. It was New Year's, Christmas Eve, and I had to go to the emergency room. And they did an x ray, and they said I had this infection where they had taken out the tumor. Not the tumor. I've never had a tumor. I don't know where that came from. I had the appendix removed.
Mhm.
I had a mass there,
Mhm.
and I said, it wasn't bad enough that I wanted to say. I said, just give me something so I can get out of here and go spend Christmas at my house. And they said, okay, turn around. They injected me in the buttocks with a syringe, and it was just an extremely strong antibiotic. So I went home, and then again, there were so many factors. To name a couple of the top ones, it was very erratic sleep patterns,
Mhm.
fatigue, um,
Would you say that
mind.
fatigue and erratic sleep patterns were contributor to causing the Crohn's disease, or would you say
Oh, I
they were
apologize. So you're saying cause, correct?
do you think that
Um,
they were the cause, or no, do you think they were a
those
symptom
were
of?
symptoms.
Got it.
Yep, absolutely. So definitely not cause. So, and I apologize, Ashley. Did you ask me for the causes?
No,
What I
but
thought might have been the causes, or
well, wait,
what the symptoms?
no, well, the thing is, like, how could we really tell which is which? Because
Right.
something like Crohn's disease there can be multiple. It's multiple factors that kind of make the perfect storm.
Yes, that's for sure.
A buildup of physical stress on the
So
body, a buildup of emotional
correct.
stress on the body.
S-
But you're saying that you started to all of a sudden notice that your sleep patterns, you were having erratic sleep, and that was
mhm.
more it was more like from the Crohn's. It was a symptom of the Crohn's, not the cause of the Crohn's.
Correct. So I want to say that the cause was a similar. It's I'd have to just sum it up to a lifestyle. So,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely, my I want to say that my eating absolutely was the tipping point. So I want to say, like, if I had to put it in percentages, I'd say like 70% what I was eating, 10% not exercising, and the rest is, or like 20%. Actually, I want to say 70% diet, 20% stress, and the rest was just, probably not just being active. But the funny thing is this: now that I'm doing better, and I'm sure we'll do that, I notice that it's just stress now. So, but the stress is an absolute, absolute, absolute factor. And it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter where the stress comes from. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
If you're stressed and it's like you said, you have that perfect storm, it's like the perfect storm. It's
Mm-hmm.
gonna come down on you. And that's what I noticed. It's just today I was looking at some photos from like a couple of years ago of me being overweight. I know for sure I was ignoring things. I was ignoring many things. I was on Zantac probably like at least every 2 to 3 days. I would take the 150, not the 75. So I was always on the high one. And I uh I I didn't I was just doing and not thinking. And that's funny. That's how I feel like that's what the food does to you. It puts you into zombie mode.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't see or realize what you're doing, and when you least expect it, you look to the side and you finished, you know, 3 bags of M&Ms, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was gonna
And
say sugar does that to me. Man, if I have one cookie, I'm like I go into zombie mode and all of a sudden all the cookies are gone. I mean, my family did a sugar detox. I don't remember how long ago. It feels like years ago, but we've we eliminated sugar from our life, and it was kind of weird because I had to read every label because sugar's hiding everywhere.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I notice now because we never eat sugar that like we just had my our son's third birthday, and so I was baking with some sugar, and we were,
Mhm.
I didn't actually put any sugar in the cake, but I used a icing. I used like a frosting that was a vegan frosting. And the second of course I'll have to taste what I'm making, because I made little mini cupcakes and all that. And it was like you eat one mini cupcake and it's like my brain went into full on zombie mode, must eat
Yeah.
all of them. And I noticed for 2 days after, because I've been so like I've been going just like you, more and more plant-based, and I noticed that I just eat less and less. Like
Right.
when I go to we go to Chipotle is the only like fast food that we have because it's like the $7 veggie bowl. And
Mhm.
and I get like the rice and the beans and I get extra beans, extra veggies on it,
Right, right.
pico de gallo, and then that nice dollop of guac. And I've gotten to the point where like I can't even finish it. Like it's so filling that I take it home. Like I take like half the container home with me. But
Good for
but
you.
the other like I just feel full. I'm just listening to my body, right?
Mhm.
But
Bingo.
then I had some of the icing, and of course, then I had it like another. I made these mini cupcakes, so that they're like, oh, but they're so small. They're like 1 ounce cupcakes, and my husband and I ate, I don't know, like 12 of them, right? And cause they're so small, but it's
Of
really the
course, they're
sugar
bite-sized.
hijacked my brain. And then I
Yep.
noticed for 2 days afterwards, my portion sizes went back to my old portion sizes. Like I noticed that like I'd finished my Chipotle bowl and
Wow.
I wanted another one. Like for 2 days, my body was like my
Mm.
brain was telling me it needed more food. It was like really the sugar hijacks your brain for days afterwards.
So that's interesting.
I
It
thought
looks
it
like
was.
so it's almost like it doesn't it's not even that it's telling you to crave sugar, it's just telling you to eat more in general.
Eat more calories. I was
Isn't
like,
that
I
insane?
thought that was interesting because like I can like today because I've come down off the sugar, thank God. But like today for breakfast, I had half a orange. Like I split an orange with my husband, and I feel fine. Like I just move on with my day. Later on in the day, when I felt hungry, I had something else, and I'm not doing portion control like oh you can like oh I feel really hungry, but I'm gonna like torture myself. It's not
Right.
that. It's like for me, it's just like here, like let's see what splitting an orange feels like. And then if I want more, I'm going to have more, right? But I'm just playing around with it. But I notice that if I do eat sugar, that then for a few days afterwards, my body is like, my brain does not hear the
Yeah.
your full mechanism. Like, my brain just goes, eat more, eat more, eat more, eat more. And I thought that was like, that's the first time I've ever observed that, because I've been sugar free for so long. Um, but yeah, you're right. We just do, and we don't think. Like, my husband, God bless him. He's amazing, and he's my rock. But your partner you tend to see their blind spots, and they see your blind spots.
Yeah,
And
yeah, you could say that again.
he'll get a bag of macadamia nuts and polish it off on the ride home, and I'm like, that was 3,000 calories. Like,
Whoa, that is a lot of, yeah,
well,
macadamia.
it's a little bag of macadamia nuts. Like, it's like,
Right, right.
if you're thinking about like what we're used to, like a bag of potato chips is bigger.
True, true.
Like in
Right.
your
No,
mind
you're
you go,
absolutely right.
this is just like one bowl of macadamia nuts. He just picks a bag of nuts to take home, on the ride home, and then he's just snacking and, like you said, doing, not thinking. And all of a sudden he's eaten like his entire day's worth of calories in one sitting, and that was just a snack.
Right.
So it's, even if you're eating health food, it's easy to overeat.
Yeah, it is, and I could definitely attest to that. You know what I've noticed though in the past 8 months of fully going plant based, even though here's the like I said, it's I'm not trying to tell anyone out there in the podcast world that you can just go ahead and eat how much whatever and you'll be fine, because too much of anything, even plants, can probably not going to be that good. But I guess what I'm getting to is that I think I've done those a couple of times where I had I've done it several times where I've definitely eaten much more of what I shouldn't, or what I should have, but because it was either vegetable or plants, and it, like, I might have been full and all that jazz, but the effect it has on my body is more minimal, is
Mhm.
much less
Right.
than, like, let's say having a whole pie that I used to do, where that's just the second you eat that, talk about it's just it's just breaking down your body as it goes, literally just
Mm.
breaking down your body on the insides. But this is different. Yes, you might be full, you might have overdone it, but at least I've noticed that I haven't beaten myself up about it as
Mhm.
much than I used to before, because I would really beat myself up about it and then I would go eat more. And so now it's like, oh man, I really got to watch myself eating too much of that.
Mhm.
But the beautiful thing again is because it's plant-based, again, your body knows how to work with it better and it breaks it down better, and it just, it could use it better for energy and all that, versus, like you said, just sugar or just very simple carbs where it's like, okay, what do I do with this? I can't do nothing with this. Boom, store it to fat or store it here or whatever. And so that's what I mean by that. So that's kind of, I don't know about you, but I'm fully plant-based, and those one of the little perks that I do like, where I could stuff my face with, I make home fries and I make them really good, and I use olive oil and all that, but I'll make myself a mountain, and I'll top it off with avocados, and I will be stuffed. But again, I just use it as energy, so I don't, I don't really gain. I might gain some water weight and stuff like that, but I don't, it's not like processed food at all. It's
Mhm.
just your body knows how to use it differently. And the funny thing is that I've always known this, but like I said back then, I was just, I don't know if it was I was ignoring things, or I just didn't want to know about it, or I didn't want to deal with it, or like I said, I was in zombie mode. But it's so crazy. I was vegetarian at one point and then I stopped. And again, looking back, when I went vegetarian, I had never felt better. But I got influenced by my surroundings and I just went
Mhm.
back into it. And so, got to watch your surroundings too. They will play a factor on you whether you like it or not.
When you say surroundings, you mean like your friends and family?
Yeah. Yeah, I could tell you one thing. All humans on this planet are born to, they always want to do good. Even when you see someone like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe they did that to me," or they said that to me, or they did that knowing that I'm doing this. I know at the end, I know it might sound weird, but at the end of the day, everybody's always trying to help you, not hurt you. So at that moment, if you can have like a sense of like, like, oh gosh, I'm trying to do so good. I'm eating this, I'm eating that. And look at so and so. Look at what they're bringing. Look at this. Look at that. Or they're offering you this, or you often, and then teasing you. Believe it or not, they think that you don't like what you're doing. And so therefore they offer you this. They're not doing to tease you or anything. They might tell you, oh, I'm just teasing. But if you dug deep down inside, they're probably going to say, well, you don't look like, or I don't think you like it because I don't like it. So I'm offering you this because I know you like this.
Mm-hmm.
But, so like I said, if you look at things that way, you could politely then say, you know what, thank you so much, but I'm good. I'm going to focus on this right now. And I've, believe it or not, from the friends all my friends and family that have been, starting to integrate, the plant-based diet into their lives, I've told them all that from the beginning. I said, listen, a lot of people are going to steer you here. A lot of people are going to tell you this. They're going to look at you funny. They're going to, you name it. I said, but you got to remember, you got to focus not on the process, but you got to focus on the outcome, on your goal. Because if you focus on the process, you're never going to do it. And if you focus on that, you're never going to do it. And I said, sometimes people, they mock you because they wish they were doing what you were doing. And so it's all about perspective and just being open-minded, not coming back at anyone strong, but and switch it on them. You try to switch it on them. Instead of them offering you, say, hey, how about you? Would you like some of this? And you watch how things will change from there on out. They'll probably say, no, I'm good. But you know what? They're probably not going to tease you anymore or ask you this. And you know what? You're going to probably spark their curiosity. And like I said, because that's what's happened. And the couple of people that I've a couple of close friends and family. I have one good friend that's lost over 100 pounds. I'm going to say that again. Over 100 pounds. I think it's over 115, but I'm just going to say over 100. Got another buddy that I've been kind of helping him for the past, and when I say helping him, I'm just kind of guiding him. He's down in about a month. He's down over 20 pounds. And then other people that are just these things that were happening to their body, they're going away. They're disappearing from going full on, or not maybe full on, but mostly plant-based. And they call me and they'll tell me, hey, like I used to have like these things and I don't have, those things are going away. And it's so funny because it almost like they're scared. They're scared that it's going away, which is hilarious because I guess they've been living with it for so long that they thought it was part of them. That's what us humans do, is like we live with things for so long, we just think that's normal, And I could tell you that's for sure. A lot of that's what happened to me. But it's just so great to hear these stories, and that's what's motivated me the most. Not only what I've gotten out of the plant-based diet, but now my surroundings, who I'm influencing them, and now their lives are changing. And like, that is what makes me the happiest, when I can go to someone else and say, like, oh, I gotta, like I'm telling you right now, I'm so proud to say that these people are losing weight and doing this, because that just, to me, that's the ultimate goal for me. After being on Instagram for all these years and thinking about being an influencer, and I, like I said, I know I am an influencer now, and I was trying to consider all these ways to go with Instagram. I said, I put so much stress on myself, and I know that even added to my weight gain and all that. And now I just said, you know what? I'm just going to be me, and I'm not going to try to like impress anybody. I'm just going to be me. I'm going to stick to my diet. I've been losing followers like crazy since I went plant-based.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And it's still going. But, I don't take it to heart. They've been following me for a really long time, so I get it. I get it, and I respect them. But I hope they all eventually end up having an open mind and coming back and checking what we're doing, and maybe even apply to their life, and then see the major positive changes. Because to me, that's what really makes an influencer. I started asking myself, how am I influencing? Am I influencing properly? And like I said, now, not only am I helping with this Crohn's disease and all that, but and then seeing how great my kids are doing. We haven't been to the dentist in I can't tell you how long. I can't remember the last time we went to the dentist. Well, besides, cleanings and stuff like that, we were having problems every day with our kids, almost every day.
Really?
Like I had my tooth hurt. Oh, ma'am, I apologize. Not every day, once a week at least. Once a week, and like, Dad, my tooth hurts here. I'm like, oh, I got a cavity or this or that, and none of it, none of it. The kids haven't been sick, and I can't tell you how long. We haven't seen the doctor, and I can't tell you. I can't tell you the last time we saw our doctor.
Let's go.
It's mind blowing.
Let's back up a bit. So you've got
Sure.
4 gorgeous kids and a beautiful wife, and I followed your wife too because she's like, her Instagram's about salad. It said, so I got excited.
Yes. Everyday salads, right?
Yes. Is it at Everyday Salads? Is that what it was?
Yes, everyday salads. Yep.
Nice. So, I love salads, and I think every well, I've had Dr.
I think
Joel.
she was born with a salad in her hand, I think. I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. When I tell you she eats a salad every day, she eats a salad
Good.
every single day. Yeah.
Good. And some people think they're boring, or, because they imagine in their mind like a restaurant salad, like lettuce and croutons. And I'm like, that is not a salad. And then
Yeah.
you got it like it's like, in my mind, this is a salad. It's like this giant bowl of vegetables, raw vegetables, with like
Colorful.
gorgeous, colorful, like flavor pops. I just had on the show Dr. Joel Furman, and get your wife to listen to it because she'll love the episode. And he has this very scientific, he's been a doctor for over 30 years. He's a very scientific based diet that heals many diseases and prevents disease and prevents cancer. And he can prove with hundreds of scientific studies that he just takes all the science and basically puts it into a diet. And so it's this very scientific way of killing cancer, of preventing cancer, of boosting the immune system, of reversing autoimmune disease. And his thing is, if everyone on the planet, right, if everyone in America, right, ate and his salad, and his version of a salad is like, shaved Brussels sprouts and broccoli and um different kind of cabbage and arugula and some spinach, make a nut dressing. So take like some cashews and some flaxseed and
Oh yeah.
blend it together and with some with some avocado, right? And maybe some balsamic vinegar. And that is your basically, you just like, you munch on that huge bowl of that. And then he goes, if you had that every day with like a bean chili, like take different kinds of beans and tomato and some onion and some mushrooms, and you made a nice thick chili out of that. Obviously
Oh.
plant based, so no chili, but not with meat. And then had like a fruit for dessert. If everyone had that for lunch, because his idea is that the biggest meal should be lunch, not and very small meal for dinner, and a
Mm-hmm.
nice respectable breakfast to get you going, like steel cutouts or a mango or like a chia pudding or something. But his thing is no processed food, right? As little processed as possible. And he goes, if everyone ate that breakfast, or sorry, if everyone ate that lunch, right? Giant salad, nice thing of soup or stew with beans in it, and a fruit. He goes, half of the world's diseases would be gone. Like
Oh yeah.
if you just had that, if you didn't like, don't even change your breakfast and lunch, or breakfast and dinner, if you just change your lunch and you had that for lunch, because there's so many anti-cancer properties in each item that he tells you to put in your soup and or your stew and your salad. Um, but if you follow his whole program, which is pretty much like, if you eat plant-based, you're so close to what he does. And there's just a few tweaks that he has you do, like make sure that you eat cooked mushrooms daily. And
Oh
he has
yes.
a reason for that it actually has a massive immune boosting property to it. And if you have flaxseed every day, you don't eat a lot, just a little, and onions every day. And so he kind of goes through his superfoods, his superfood list. And um, but yeah, it's like when you eat all these foods, you feel so good. Now let's go back a little bit. So your kids before this, because I love going through Instagram because you can see like everything has meat in it. Like there was like sandwiches and burgers and
Yep.
like meat on everything, right? And I'm scrolling through, and then all of a sudden it's like, I'm going plant based. And then it was just like everything was plant based, and it would look, I mean, all your pictures are gorgeous. It looks like you're taking all of your photos with like a $4,000 camera. I'm sure it's just your iPhone, right? But it looks
Well,
gorgeous.
sometimes I flip flop back and forth, but
Well, your pictures are gorgeous, and it makes me hungry just looking at your Instagram. But it's fun to see your evolution. I love that you get really authentic with your Instagram, and that you're just being yourself. You know, you're showing the progress of your diet. You know, so you got Crohn's disease. You started looking for what you could do to improve your health, and because of that, now your entire family. Now you're saying that
yes.
your four kids don't get sick anymore. That they used to get cavities. Now there's no cavities. What other
Yeah.
health changes have you seen in the last 8 months since your whole family has gone plant based?
Okay. So the past 8 months have been probably, it started off pretty rough, but where I am now, it's really amazing. I could honestly tell you that when I first started, which was August 1st, the day previous to that, or the same day, I had no choice but to sleep in my daughter's room, and everyone else would sleep in my bedroom because I was in bed rest. I couldn't get up. I just couldn't get up. It was incredible. Because when you see me on the bed, I look completely normal. It looks like nothing's wrong with me. I look fine. That's why they call it the invisible disease. But
Mm.
I couldn't even get up. I just couldn't get up. And so I remember even doing a Instagram story showing people that I was in bed and telling them, they're like, oh gosh, I feel like this is my last hope. I'm going to go through this. I'm going to do this vegetarian thing because my wife told me early on when this happened, because my wife's always right, right? So she says, I read that if you went vegetarian or you stopped eating meat, that this might go away, or like not go away, or at least make it a lot better. And I said, okay, that's cool. Well, I'm going to do the gluten thing first, and I'm going to stop gluten, and I'm going to stop this and that. And I did. Very little change for me, at least, for me. I noticed a little bit of change, maybe the first month or two. And then, but the everything, all the symptoms were still there. Like I might have lost a little bit of weight and stuff, but all the symptoms were still there. And I went through the rest of it. And then I finally gave up the meat. And it took about 1 month. And I remember calling my mom and I said, I think this is working. I said, I don't know what's going on, but I can feel my body changing. Like
Mm.
something's happening, you know? Now, um, the Crohn's was still coming super hard and it was still going into my mind. So even I want to still take that the first 2 to 3 months of me, I think it was because I was making this drastic change in my diet, on top of the fact that the Crohn's is like really trying to get in me, like really trying to make my life the most miserable at the same time. My
Right.
body went through so much changes with the Crohn's and with the diet that I ended up losing too much weight. I wasn't paying attention too much of how much I was eating, what I should be eating. So again, just like anything, you do more research. By the time the fourth month came along, it was like I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. And I would tell my mom, I, I think this is, I said, oh, that by that time, I remember looking down because the thing is, I ended up getting these, let's just call it like a rash on my feet. And like your body starts going through changes. And I mean, my body went through changes like that. In a couple of months, my body made so much changes that I thought I was gonna die. I thought I was like dying, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And I know a lot of people can relate. I know a lot of people that are listening to this that have, some kind of super crazy chronic disease and it's gone through this. They're like, I know what you mean. Um, I ended up having to make extra adjustments to my diet, eat more because, with the plants, they're very low calorie, so you got to eat a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I super increased my intake of the bananas, and then my skin started to look like it just started clearing up. I mean, completely.
Mm-hmm.
And people would look at my wife and I, because she was, like I said, she started around the same time. And she says, people would ask us, like, what are you doing? What are you guys doing? And they're like, well, this, and that. Then came my nails. My nails started to get stronger. They weren't brittle anymore. Okay. The rash on my feet started to go away.
I love it.
And now not only go away, but now, so fast forward to now, there was a lot of other stuff like your hair gets better. I don't have, I have to shave more quickly. I mean, I have to shave more because my hair grows so quick now. I guess again because all the vitamins and minerals that you're getting from the plant. Yeah, it's crazy. It's very annoying.
It's funny you said that. My husband stopped shaving. I cannot believe, because he just was like, I'm so sick of shaving. He has a full on beard now. Because in January, beginning of January, we went, like, my husband went full vegan, and I've been like 95%. I can't call myself
Awesome.
95% vegan, but I've been like 95% plant-based. I still do, like, and I mean, like, maybe 3 ounces of chicken, like 2 or 3 times a week, like really, really, really small.
Hmm.
And then like eggs, maybe a few times a week, but like I've been cutting it back. I'm like weaning, like heroin. I'm like weaning myself off it. And
Hey,
the
that's how
last
my friends did it, and
right.
they're doing great.
Yeah, but my husband, he went full on. Like, I love how, and you got to get about my husband is that, like, he was the guy who only ate meat. He was the guy that
Yeah, me
thought, I
too.
mean, we did Atkins, we did paleo, we did ketogenic. There was like years that we thought that the body could just live off of meat, because all these
Yep.
doctors say you can do that. And, right, just live
Yeah,
off of meat.
I feel so bad because I was one of those.
I
I was
know,
one of them. I mean, like I said, you could scroll through my Instagram. I
right?
don't hide it because I don't want people to think I'm like a hypocrite or anything because like that was my past. That's
Right.
why that it is what it is. You learn and you move on, you
Right,
know?
exactly. And so we totally learned, but it's just funny to think, like, I remember we would go to our local co-op, and it's like this really great organic store. And we would go to their hot bar and get their breakfast sausages, and we'd sit there thinking that we were eating a really,
Yep.
really healthy breakfast, because we were eating like organic, breakfast sausages. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, like, we were
Oh,
so
what if turkey?
wrong.
They're turkey sausages. No, I'm just
We were
kidding.
so wrong. Oh no, they were full on full hog, but they were, like the organic kind, right? So of course they're
Right.
healthy. But he used to joke, at, if someone said they were vegan, he'd go, "I eat vegans daily," because, he would, what's a cow? A cow's a
Yeah,
vegan. So that was
correct.
his joke. And he went from that to being full plant-based.
Look
And
at
just
that.
like that, because, I do all these interviews, and then I rub off on him because I go and tell him what I learned. Sometimes he listens to the show sometimes, but I'll just run out of an interview and I'll immediately say, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool. You got to hear this." Like, I interviewed Robin Openshaw, the green smoothie girl, for her book. Well, her podcast is Your High Vibration Life, and she came up with a book called Vibe, and she talks about how the energy frequency of meat is something like 6 megahertz, right? Whereas plants are like 100 or 200 or 300, and then the human body, if your human body is like healthy, and I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was something like, if you're a healthy human, vibrates at like 160 megahertz, and a body that's on chronic illness will be like 85, but a body on death's door is like 60. And so they could see that
Hmm.
sick people are vibrating at a lower hertz, and the really healthy people, like plant-based super healthy people with no disease, are vibrating on really high frequencies. And plant foods like vegetables and fruit are an alive food that's alive, vibrates at
Hmm.
really high frequencies, and food that's dead, so meat for example, vibrates at almost like no frequency. And so she's kind of like, well, what are you putting in your body? Like, if you put, because it's just like, this is just physics, like, if you are a being that's like 100 hertz, but you feed your body 6 hertz food,
It's gonna
you're gonna lower your hertz, right? Exactly.
right.
And they just see,
Oh my
and they don't
gosh,
know
that's
if it's
amazing.
causation, right? They don't know if it's actually, like, they haven't proven that
Mhm.
it's causation, but it's like, look,
Mhm.
every sick person, they put these like these machines on, and they measure that their frequency. Sick people resonate a lower frequency, healthy people resonate a higher frequency. So, like, what are you feeding your body? Are you going to feed your body low frequency or high frequency foods?
Hmm.
And I came out of that interview, told my husband that, and he's like, "I'm never eating pork again." He's like, and I'm like, "Yeah, but it's all meat." And he's like, "Oh." And that kind of just that like hatched or that laid an egg in his mind to hatch.
Right.
But so yeah, beginning of January, and I interviewed a bunch of other people, like the authors of Clean Protein, and that's what had me finally, that was the last straw for me to go, it's safe and healthy to go plant-based, because I was still buying into, like, humans need protein, and where the heck am I going to
Yeah.
get my protein from? And the author said, There's 18 grams of protein in 1 cup of lentils. And the second he
Yes.
said that, my brain snapped and it was like, I have no more excuses. I can do this. Because I had been vegetarian before in my 20s, but I was like a junketarian and I didn't feel healthy. I just basically ate.
Ah,
I just thought it was, oh, vegetarian, that's not for me because I mean, I ate
right.
pasta and cheese and Subway sandwiches and pizza, right? Like just it was junk, right? Just
Yep,
because it didn't
yep.
have meat on it. Because back then, I'm a 20-year-old. What do I know about, eating lots of vegetables? Thank God I have 20-year-old listeners who know more than I did back then, right? So,
I
um
know it's incredible.
it's
The
just
the tech, the information going out
right?
now it's good. It's like you said, more people are going to be learning at an earlier age,
Yeah.
and so that's good.
Right. So, anyways, getting back to the hair growing fast and the healthy skin and nails and healthy hair, I can't believe how many times a week we have to cut our son. So, our son is 3 now, and we have to cut his nails all the time. They grow so fast, and he has a full
Yep.
head of hair. He gets mistaken to be for a girl because he has the most gorgeous hair. But
Yeah,
my,
same thing happened to us yesterday.
and my husband's got this beard, like this full on beard that like other men are jealous of, and he just started growing it a few weeks ago because he's like, screw this shaving thing. I mean, I'm gonna have to tell him now it's because he's gone plant based. It's like, are we noticed
You're
our hair is growing in thicker and healthier and stronger, and our nails are stronger. So
Yep.
my skin, I cannot believe. So we've been using this sauna, this sunlight and sauna. I'm in love with it. I've been using it to detoxify for the last month. By the two things I'm doing, well, three things. I'm eating chlorella, I'm doing the sauna, and I'm eating plant based. I've lost
Mm,
over 10 pounds this month now, and my
good for you.
skin is so soft. And I thought it's probably a combination of the plant based diet and the sauna, but my skin has never been this soft before. I thought there's a lot of health benefits that add up.
That's just hilarious because my daughter, she just cut her hair and donated the hair.
Nice.
It hasn't been that long, Ashley, and that hair is growing already. I told my wife, I said, look at her hair. It's already grown back. And then my other daughter just got her haircut, so we could and they both got the same size haircut. You know what I mean? They got the same amount taken off, and their hair length was almost the same. So, but my daughter cut hers earlier. But again, it was only, I want to say maybe 2 months ago. It's very long now. I just can't believe it. But I'm only 8 months into it. The benefits have been so incredible. My mom is now doing it. She's starting to see the benefits. I mean, the list goes
Yay.
on, and I'm just so happy because, like I said, I mean, not for nothing, thinking long term. I don't know about you, but I want my friends and my family to be around as long as they can,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to be around as long as I can. And so the fact that I can, or or if I can influence, and I'm only influencing by leading by example. My mom always tried to hit that, tried to make sure I understood that growing up, is that just lead by example, and then you'll see, and then but sometimes you want everyone to change now, like make that change now, feel better now, and it doesn't work that way. So I'm just going to continue to lead by example, and for those that want to just come along, they'll see the benefits. You
Mm-hmm.
have to have the patience, and you'll see the massive benefits. But the fact that I can influence people around me, and then when they come to tell me that they went out to a party or something, and they say that they're looking at people and saying, how can they eat that, and they were never used to say those things before. That's the between that and everyone being healthy around me, and like making these changes, and like I said, just seeing them. I love it when I see someone else light up, and I love it when they're in a good mood because it puts me in a good mood.
Mm-hmm.
And food is going to mess with your moods. It's going to mess with a lot of things. And so think about it. It's like, if a lot of people around you are eating better and feeling good, think about it. It's just going to rub off. And so, slowly my family's also making that transition. But like I said, the benefits are just, I still can't believe it sometimes. I'm 8 months in, and I could tell you right now on the show, I still can't believe all the good things that have been happening to my body and to me, and how I'm almost beating this thing down into like full remission, or I read an article like on some kind of web medical report and some exams, how they did a study on like people that had Crohn's and IBD or inflammatory bowel disease, and they showed that, this group versus that group, the ones that went vegetarian or meatless, in X amount of years versus the other ones, all of them relapsed and they had, episodes again and attacks and hospital visits and all that. And the vegetarians, I think out of all of them, only one got sick again. Everyone else, for I don't know what the time was, they never relapsed. They never had another episode.
I believe it.
That's enough information for me. You know what I mean? And then, like I said, once you do this, like now I'm planting, like I'm planting seeds now. I got basil, like I'm growing garden stuff. And you could really see, I got to tell you something, when you start growing those plants and herbs and all that, and you're starting to take care of this plant from a little seedling to where it is now, and your body is just like a plant. You got to feed it the right stuff. I know this sounds so cliche, but it's the truth. It's the truth.
I think it's really appropriate. I don't think it's cliche at all. I think it's very appropriate because many of us have never, ever had that experience of growing something from a seed. And so I think it's very therapeutic to be able to do that, to grow an herb garden inside or grow a garden outside and get your hands in the soil and watch the miracle of life. Well, I mean, absolute miracle of life come from a single seed into a beautiful plant. And then you see, wow, I had to feed this beautiful plant to be healthy. And then you get on a different level, you get it on a new level, like that. I feed my body and my body grows healthy just like this plant. It's
Yep,
so true.
exactly. It's a reflection of you. It is a reflection of you. Every time I get out there and I gotta water them. I have to water them. If I don't water them, they're gonna die. If you don't give it the plant food, it's gonna die. It's so simple. It's gonna die or it's gonna start withering. That's the first step. And just like humans, we first start to wither. We don't just die like that. Sadly, sometimes we do. Very sad. But we start. I'm so sorry, Ashley. I'm so sorry. Hold on a second. I'm so sorry. I got to tell you this. Do you want to know how funny this is and why my actually, kid, if you don't mind, I'm gonna talk about it. So my dog's been barking during this interview, and she's hungry. And the thing is that my Pekingese, which I think my Pekingese that you saw earlier, she was not doing so good about 2 months ago. We were already planning how we were going to bring it to the kids, where we were going to, what we were going to do with her, all of that. And it hit me overnight. I said, wait a minute. Why don't I just put them on a plant-based diet? I did a little research and I found out that dogs have this. Everyone needs to do their research first. But I did my research and I got, house dogs. They're little dogs. They're little petite dogs. And I found out that they could totally sustain themselves well if you take out the majority of the meat or all the meat completely. So I started doing that. I put them on a plant-based diet. I have 2 dogs. The Pekingese that was getting ready to pass, and she was even barely walking. Now, every so often, will run around the house. She's completely aware of what's going on. She had lost her hearing. She got a little bit of it back.
Nice.
She's walking better. She had hip problems. She's walking now, like no problem. She still has problems. She's still old. She's like she's 15 years old. But now that she's been on a plant-based diet, guess what? Again, this is hilarious. Her hair does not stop growing. It's out of control. Their nails grow way faster. And it's only been 2 months. And I'm telling you because I've witnessed this myself. And just overall, I can tell her she's in a great mood. She's jumping again. She's got like life again. And she was not like that 2 months ago. She would not even get up from the floor. She would just hide underneath our bed. And my wife would say, please go find Mushy, because, we always hear that dogs, usually when they're going to pass away, they like kind of go hide themselves somewhere. Or I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what I heard. And and when you least expect, that's where you find them, and they're not breathing. So every time, and I can't tell you how many times we would try to hit her and she wouldn't wake up. And then 2 minutes later, she would finally wake up. And
Oh,
that was heartbreaking because, again, we knew, we were like, gosh, her times. Nothing like that now. Nothing like that now. Matter of fact, all she does is bark because she wants more food. So same thing with us. We were feeding them too little, and now we're feeding them like, and I know a lot of dog owners are going to say, what? I got to feed them that many times? But listen, if you love your dog to death, like,
oh yeah.
you'll see some amazing, or just start adding more vegetables to your dog's, food, and you'll see, the change is incredible. I go around telling a lot of dog owners because I can't believe it myself. I'm here witnessing it, and I cannot believe it. My family laughs because, this dog's been a handful her whole life. So for my family to know that she's still kicking around is just pretty, when I told them I put them on a plant-based diet, first of all, that alone cracked them up. But when I told them how well they're doing, they couldn't believe it. But they're doing so well. I'm so grateful that she could be with me for hopefully like at least another year or two. That would be amazing. But we'll see. So I just kind of wanted to insert that because that's been going on for the past 2 months, and the changes alone in my dog. My dog did it. I mean, I don't know what else to say or do for people to believe me. Like I don't know. I'm just gonna, like I said, I'm gonna keep doing me. I'm going to influence in the way I can, and that's just by leading by example, teaching, what I can by my experience, and just kind of and simplifying it as much as I can. Fruits and vegetables are your absolute best friend. Let them in your house, let them in your mouth, like let them in. I promise you, at first it's going to be a little weird. It will be. It's anything we try new is going to be weird. It's not just this. Anything we try that's new, we always feel, because we always have that, we fear the unknown,
Mm-hmm.
And so when, people just open up their minds a little bit, I promise, for whoever's listening, just give it a try. Just buy an apple today. Just start there, But if you want to see, I'm gonna leave it at this. It's just like anything in life. You do a little, you're gonna get a little. You do a lot, you're gonna get a lot. So it's that simple. If you want to see major changes, make major changes. Like, stuff your face with vegetables for a month. Just see what happens. What's the worst that's gonna happen? No, I don't think there's really anything bad that's going to happen. So just do that. Because again, if people say, yeah, I tried it for a week. No, you didn't. You had a salad for a couple of days. That doesn't make you that doesn't mean you were consuming vegetables. Like, and the best way to do it is to just make sure it's all on the counter. I'm going to simplify it for everybody. Make sure everything's on the counter. Put your apples there, put your mangoes, put your kiwis, your oranges, put your kale or your cilantro and stuff like that in some jars with water. Leave them out. Leave out your herbs. Leave out your fruits and your vegetables, whatever you can leave out, because it's very simple. Out of sight, out of mind. Whatever vegetables. And then if you see them on there and you kind of, oh man, the apples are going bad. They're gonna go bad. Let me eat them now. It's just those incentives that come from leaving it out on top of the counter, because that's kind of how I started doing it. I had no choice, but I'm like, I bought all these fruits and vegetables. I'm like, where the heck am I going to put them? So my wife's like, well, let's buy a big basket. And we did. And that's how we started. And now we got herbs growing in our kitchen and in our backyard, and we got flowers all over. It's crazy. We were never flower people. They would just die. The same day it got to the house, they would die, So it's like, now it's just a better understanding of what's going on. And like, I appreciate plants now because like we are just big plants, and it really has changed our life. My kids are doing great. I don't know if this has anything to do with, my kids literally came today with their school report card. Their grades have only been going up.
Oh my
They haven't been going down. So again, I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I think it does. When you feed yourself good, your brain works off food. Whatever you feed it, that's what's going to fuel your body, your brain, and everything. So, but you feed it crap, you're going to think like crap, you're going to be like crap. Feed it good. You know what I mean? So it's that's the benefits for the kids. I've noticed a lot of less mood swings with my kids. Like, they're still there, but they're a lot less. They're more spread out.
Mm-hmm.
And because we've drastically cut on the sugar, we don't have any sugar in the house or anything like that. But I definitely, every so often, my kids will have Skittles, and just things like that. They do their extremely best to not have ice cream. They'll have like maybe coconut milk ice cream, macadamia, or something like that. But for the most part, they do good there. And you know what's crazy? I kept telling them to stop. And again, everyone listening, I'm not a dentist. I don't know how this works, but they're still eating candy now, and we don't go to the dentist. Like, of course, they brush their teeth twice a day and yada yada, but I'm starting to believe that the majority of the issues we were having, all of us as a family, with our teeth, had to do with meat.
You should
And
look
like our
into
bills
Weston A.
were,
Price. Do you know who that is?
no, Weston A.
Yeah,
Price. I
Weston
mean,
A.
it sounds a little
Price.
familiar.
Yeah, but he's no longer with us, but he was a dentist long ago who was going like, why is it that, like, if you think about the UK, all their, like, the stereotypical person in the UK has crooked teeth, and people here are now born, like, it's more common than not that people have overcrowding, right, in their mouth, and they
Right.
need some kind of dental procedure, or else they're gonna have crooked teeth or gaps in their teeth. And he traveled around the world looking for, like, are there people in the world, because he didn't think it made sense, like evolution, from the evolutionary standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
why are we having so many problems right now, as
Right.
opposed to like 1,000 years ago or 10,000 years ago. And so he went around the world and he found tribes of people who were not touched by modern medicine or modern diet, and they had absolutely perfect teeth. They never brushed or flossed a day in their life. They'd never seen a dentist. They had zero cavities and they had gorgeous pearly white. Like, you look at the pictures of tribes in Africa, and
Mm-hmm.
they all smile and they have like gorgeous teeth, and you think that it was totally fake, like they're all actors and they're in Hollywood because they have gorgeous bleached white teeth. And it's because that he found this big correlation between diet and oral health, your oral health. And I've interviewed two I actually just interviewed a dentist today. I'm going to be publishing that soon, but I interviewed a dentist on the show from Australia, and he said that there's the oral health is a mirror of your internal health.
Yes.
Just like you can look at your skin or your hair or your eyes and see signs of deterioration internally, or signs of strength and health and vigor internally, so can you in the mouth see sort of a representation of the gut health, because there are our gut starts in our gut is our mouth, that's where the gut starts.
Right.
And that there are bacteria, the microbiome of the gut starts in our mouth, that we in fact have digestive enzymes, and we have healthy bacteria in the mouth. And these tribal people were all eating in a way that was plant-based, or mostly plant-based, but they were eating in a way that was whole foods, and they were consuming foods that fed the healthy bacteria, that fought off the bad bacteria. And so he discovered, like, vitamin K and how it's made in the gut, and how we need to feed the body like certain things that are unprocessed whole foods.
Mm-hmm.
um but that there was his exploration of, and you can Google Weston A. Price Foundation for some great information, because they continue to do this kind of research, looking at how the role that food plays in healing or harming the body. But that was the big discovery, and now these dentists that are following his work can actually, using nutrition, can straighten teeth. They straighten teeth with nutrition. It takes time, but they say that like a lack of minerals, for example, has caused the
Mm-hmm.
jaw to become too small, which means the teeth are crowded. And so they look at someone with crowded teeth and go, okay, what you really need is more minerals. Well, where are you going to get your minerals? Get your minerals from your plants, because
Mm.
that's the most digestible, absorbable form of minerals, right? So they
Right.
increase all of their plant-based, consumption, and over time their jaw grows to a healthy level that they're able to straighten out the teeth using nutrition. So it's kind of this, like, oh my gosh, you mean you don't need braces, you just use nutrition, right? So it's
Yeah,
totally
that's
out
right.
there now. I also have to tell you about something that's coming up just around the corner, April 4th. They're launching The Truth About Pet Cancer, which is a docu-series like The Truth About Cancers, but by Ty Bollinger. Listeners can go to learntrail.com/pet, so PET, to sign up for it. It's absolutely free, and it follows over 30 experts, like in like veterinarian doctors that all do holistic medicine with animals. And this is exactly what you're demonstrating is exactly we can prevent and reverse disease in humans and in animals, right? Using this
Hmm.
kind of whole foods diet, and they're going to be talking about that. So it's The Truth About Pet Cancer, learntrail.com/pet to sign up. I interviewed the Humane Society's senior food policy director. Her name's Christy Middleton. Episode 203. She wrote the book Meatless, and she talks about, obviously the health benefits of going meatless, but also the humane and the impact on the health of the planet. Because if we have an unhealthy planet, we're gonna have unhealthy bodies. It's, we live here,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I asked her the question near the end of the interview. So episode 203, I said, well, okay, I noticed in your bio you have cats and dogs. As a vegan, how do you justify feeding your animals meat? Or, said, I mean,
Hmm.
I didn't say it like
Right.
accusatory, but like,
Mm-hmm.
I always thought it was funny because every vegan I know has pets. And it's like, how did they justify going to the pet store and buying a bunch of dead meat
I
for
know.
their, it's like, no, right? So she said, well, actually dogs can be vegan. Dogs don't need. So she explained it very nicely. She goes, cats do need meat, but you can add some vegetables to their food. And I've done that with my cat. My cat was having a lot of problems, and I started adding puree pumpkin, organic pumpkin to our
Yeah, yeah,
cat's
yeah. That's how
food.
I started too.
And oh my God, my cat is like a new cat. I mean, it's just amazing.
Isn't that
He's
cool?
eating a lot less. He was like my I go to a holistic vet, and he said my cat was like starving, even though he was eating this really nutrient dense food, this kibble. He goes, the kibble, and my cat was gaining weight. My cat's over 20 pounds. He's just gaining weight out of control. He's like 16, I think. But he was eating a food that was so
Wow.
nutrient dense that there was not enough fiber in it, and so he was just kind of still hungry,
Right.
but getting too many calories. It's like super. It's sort of like drinking, like a McDonald's
Trust me, I know all
flurry
about that.
or whatever the drink at McDonald's is. It's like 4,000 calories, but then an hour later you're hungry. Like it doesn't, so the cat was
Uh,
like eating all these calories but then hungry an hour later. So I switched to like a tuna, can of tuna, for cats,
mhm.
and then mixed equal parts canned tuna, cat tuna, and the puree pumpkin. And my cat eats almost nothing. He's so happy, I mean, he's eating so much less than he was, and he's starting to lose weight. Cats lose weight really slowly. You don't want to force him to lose weight fast. But I just noticed that he's like in a lot of he's not like acting like he's in pain all the time, which is really cool. But yeah,
Huh.
so Christy Middleton said that she got her, and she explains how she did it, but she got her dog's pretty much 100% plant-based, and her cat is like 50% plant-based or whatever the percentage was that's healthy for cats. And that, it's just there's sort of like you've got to look at the like where the food comes from, that
Right.
in terms of ethics and making sure that company's super ethical, um and make sure that this it's wild caught, or it's just the sources are really good
There's
wherever they're
I think
sourcing it.
I think there's a recall right now on some dog
Mhm.
food or dog snack. And
Yeah. It was
yeah. So
killing the police canines.
what?
There's a recall on some dog food for killing police canines. And it's really sad because I have my ex-boss had two gorgeous cats. She lived in Australia, and both of them just dropped dead all of a sudden, and she found out that it was
Mm,
because it was she was buying this Canadian cat food, all organic, very very high end. But when you import food into Australia, they will irradiate it. and they were doing like lethal amounts of radiation on the food, and
Wow.
that killed her cats. And so you have to look at like, what does your country do, or what does your state or
Hmm.
province do when they import foods? Are there, because they just don't have very many regulation or safety regulations for animal foods as they do for human food. So it's just getting into that, like being a food detective and looking at like, where's your food coming from? Like I just the other day had a guest on who said, we were talking about parasites, and he said, listen, we're a global, global market now. Like, you just because you live in, let's say, Canada or the United States or Australia, doesn't mean that you aren't going to be exposed to parasites. Your blueberries came from Chile. Your meat came from New
Mm.
Zealand. Like, he listed off a bunch of things. And if you don't look, you may not realize that the grapes you just ate came from Argentina. You don't know what that water, like if you got a waterborne illness, or what kind
Yep.
of parasite you got. So
Hmm.
parasites are very common, and these kind of infections are common, more so now because our food travels from miles away, and entire civilizations. So
Yep.
we need to eat more local, right? We need to be food detectives to see where our food comes from. So
Or
I
grow it
love, or
ourselves,
grow it
which I know
ourselves.
I'm trying.
Yes.
At least, herbs, and I started growing some sweet potatoes. Like I said, if you
Nice.
follow the Instagram, you'll see, especially on my Instagram stories, so that's where I put, I've been putting more effort into the Instagram stories. You'll see a lot of that stuff. I got the sweet potatoes going, and I'm not trying to grow a farm over here. I'm dabbling. I'm going to see what I can do. I'm going to see what I'm capable of, and see if I can provide some food for my family. I mean,
Nice.
again, what's the worst that'll happen? The crops die. We live in the United States, and so in a lot of countries like ours, where their food is very easily accessible. So it's not like if I don't do well, I'm going to starve. It's not that. It's I'm thinking about the planet. I'm thinking about every single thing that you just said. I'm thinking about all those things, and I just said, it wouldn't hurt to grow maybe some lettuce, some potatoes. Those things just basically grow on their own. You just got to water them, and let's just see. I started watching YouTube videos months ago, and here I am with like God knows how much basil and, oh gosh, lettuce, tomatoes that are being, they're all growing now. They're all growing, but I know it's pretty funny. I know a lot of people look at me weird, but it's like I told you before. I don't pay attention to that stuff anymore. I know what's working for me. I
Mm-hmm.
know it's working extremely well for me, and people can see me whatever way they want. I know that I was in the dirt. I was like in the gutter with this Crohn's, where to me there was no way out. This was
Mm.
it. This is my life. Oh my gosh. you know and mind you, I've never ever been on medicine. They did give me a muscle relaxer for when I it's an extreme condition, but the bottle's still full. I think I've taken it maybe 3 times, and those were extreme situations, okay, where I didn't want to go to the hospital, so I took it. But it's just, I'm gonna continue. Like I said before, I've said it a couple times already. I'm just gonna keep doing me and leading by example, and that's kind of it. People need to learn to just like, put that wall up and say, I'm not gonna worry about anybody else and their thoughts. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
worry about me and how I feel and what works for me. And that's if everyone can start saying that, that's the first step. It's not even to go buy
Mm-hmm.
vegetables, because it starts in the mind. You have to decide. You have to decide, I'm going to go down this route now. And I'm gonna put a wall up to the haters, and I'm just gonna keep going down. And if you can do that, and if you can decide and say, I'm gonna decide to start doing this, take that first step. And what's very important is, again, focus on how you feel, not what anyone tells you, uh, not what anyone else is saying.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on how you feel, listen to your body, and you'll know what works. Because I can't tell you, I didn't know what the heck I was doing when I first started. I didn't. You learn along the way, you know? And so if anyone's thinking that, a lot of people that come to this show and all that, no, we all learn from our mistakes, and we move forward, and we see what worked and what didn't work, and we just keep working on that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so if people can do that, I can almost promise them that by the end of this year, they'll it'll be a new you. And again, I know that's cliche, but you'll be amazed. And I'm so happy for you, Ashley. I can't wait for a couple of more months
I
to
know.
I'm gonna hit you up, Ashley. I'm gonna
I'm
say, hey.
I'm super excited for it. I mean, I told my husband yesterday, I almost cried about it. I'm like,
Aw.
this has been the easiest 10 pounds I've ever lost. It's just like, what? I mean, and the thing is, you're right.
Good
Like,
for
at
you.
first, when you go plant-based, like, you don't eat enough. Like, you don't realize you have to eat more because vegetables are 300 calories a pound. Grains are about 500 like whole grains, like, like rice or whatever is 500 calories a pound. Um, bread, pasta, um, like those kind of processed foods, that's 1,500 calories. It's between 12 and 1,500 calories a pound, right? Um, things like butter and nut butter, those are like 3,000 calories a pound. So people are used
Right.
to eating between 1,200 and then 3,000 calories a pound, right? So they're used to eating too caloric dense. And calories aren't everything. Calories are just one thing to look at. But
Correct.
but it's like, it's just very concentrated. It's sort of like opening up a can, like going to the grocery store, going to the frozen section, getting that old school, like concentrated orange juice can, taking it home, letting it defrost, where you're supposed to add like 3 parts more water to like make orange juice, and then you just open it up and you drink that. Like that amount of concentration, right? Like people are
Correct.
eating super super like oil, for example. I mean, oil is something like a teaspoon is 120 calories a teaspoon. So people are eating sugar and oil and really just calorically dense foods, and then they go to eat whole foods. So now they're eating like lots of vegetables and maybe some rice and some beans, and now all of a sudden they're going from eating 3,000 calories a pound to 300 calories a pound. And they're
Yep.
feeling full. You feel full on 300 calories a pound because of all the fiber. But then an hour later, you're like, whoa, wait a sec, I'm hungry. And the first thought is, this
Yes.
doesn't work. This doesn't work.
Because I'm
I'm
hungry
I'm
again.
hungry again. Therefore, honestly, my first thought was, I'm craving meat. I must be missing meat. Meat
Oh
is what
my
I'm missing,
gosh,
right?
that's so
And
funny.
then you want to like go eat some meat, but it's not that. It's that you can just eat more. If you love food,
Right.
then it's like plant-based is the way to go because you could eat so much more food. And there's ways around it, like add an avocado, which I see you do a lot in your Instagram. We can add like, a handful of nuts or handful of seeds, or there's ways to add a more calories in there. But just knowing that, or adding like a really nice starch, like those sweet baked potatoes. You have some amazing
Oh,
ideas on your
I
Instagram,
love my sweet potato.
right? I
I
I
have a lot
do.
more recipes coming out. I've been working on them
Good.
for like 2 or 3 weeks already, so I can't wait to start releasing. Like, I'm releasing a
Nice.
lot of recipes, so I hope people stay tuned to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, absolutely. I know my listeners will, at Meal Prep Mondays on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram. What I do, and this is totally like the my only meal prep thing that I always do. So I've got to learn more. I got to learn more from you on how to meal prep. But my only thing is I'll just take an entire giant thing of sweet potatoes. Like my biggest baking dish I have, I'll fill it with sweet potatoes. I'll throw it in the oven for like 2 hours at a like I don't know, I'll pick like 325 degrees or something. Just like
Right.
hot enough to bake them, but like cool enough not to burn them. I don't really like have a specific temperature. I just somewhere in the 300s. And I always find that if I bake it for just an hour, it's not enough because there's like some that are still kind of crunchy in the middle. So I just go overboard and do it for like 2 hours, and then I take it out and let it cool like for a few hours, and then I'll notice at that point that it's really easy. I just squeeze them and I can just slip the skin right off. Because I learned this from a naturopath. You don't want to eat the baked skins because there's heterocyclic amines, which are cancer causing in baked root vegetable skins. And so then I'm
I
just,
heard that too. There's
yeah,
something, I think it's like, well, I heard they also had a yucca has, or cassava has
cyanide.
yeah, like some hints of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I heard. I haven't really
Right.
confirmed this, but it goes along to what you're saying. So that is interesting.
Right. I mean, they're good to cook in, but then, like, they're good to cook the root vegetable in the skin, and then you just remove the skin. You don't eat the skin. If
Correct.
you bake it, or sorry, if you bake it with dry heat, don't eat the skin. If you boil it, you can eat the skin. So it's something about dry heat that causes this chemical reaction that causes heterocyclic amines. And
That's
so, and
very
I'll
interesting.
just throw them in the fridge cold, right? Like an entire plate of them. And then when I need a snack, like in between meals, I'll just grab like half a sweet potato and it is like candy. It is like I'm
Yes.
eating like a pudding. I've actually done this once where I took sweet potato and I put it in the food processor with organic cacao, just like basically just like chocolate powder,
Ooh, that sounds good. Okay.
and then I just blended it like till it was creamy, and I served it to my son, who, at the time he was 2, now he's 3, and he wanted more. He ate the whole thing, wanted seconds, because it tastes just like chocolate pudding. You cannot tell because you don't need to add sugar to it because it's just raw chocolate powder, and
Yep.
which is vegan, and sweet potato, and just that's it. You just blend the two together, and it tastes just like chocolate pudding because the sweet potato sweetens it. So the fun little things, I like to find ways of basically making, healthy food into desserts.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now because I definitely have to add my tips in here because I'm sure people are like wondering
Yeah,
like, okay,
we're gonna get to
where
your
are those
tips.
tips?
Yeah,
Well,
let's get to them.
gotcha. You hit it on the head, and I'm glad you brought that up because the sweet potato, I got to tell you, when I first started all of this, the sweet potato is where I started. I didn't cook it. I just didn't cook it. And now, if we don't have sweet potato in the house, we'll go crazy. Okay. So start off with the sweet potato, and yes, I suggest you bake them. The beautiful thing about it is that, like, let's say again, you're starting with your meal prep, you could bake up to 5 potatoes. They'll be good. They'll be good for 5 days.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Store them in a container, they'll be good. Now, if it's you make it like a stuffed potato, you slit the center, okay, and now add any topping you want. Add anything to it. Just throw it in there. Throw some veggies in there. Throw whatever it is that you want in there. Throw some rice. Throw some beans and load it up. And that's very easy. You can eat it for breakfast, you can eat it for lunch, or you can eat it for dinner. That's the beautiful thing about sweet potato. I'll tell you this, you eat it early in the day, that sweet potato is going to create some really good energy for you, some sustainable, like non-peaking energy. So consider that. But sweet potatoes really your best friend. Baking is your best friend for meal prep because it does a lot of the work for you. Another thing is the crock pot, which a lot of people know. Crock pot, you leave it overnight or whichever way you want it. It's cooking the food for you. Easy peasy meal prep. You could make soups, you could make stews, you could make broth, you could make whatever it is that you want. And the beautiful thing about it, if you have a large crock pot, you can make a bunch of it. Store it, freeze it, right? And take it out whenever it's ready. There is now it's just about the method with meal prep because everybody's got their own ways of eating and their own diets, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'm just kind of telling them the quickest way to do it and the easiest way where you can still, again, you have to choose what food you're going to put in there, what vegetables and all that. So make sure you pick something that you like and something good, and use your crock pot, use your oven, and always save leftovers. Some of our meal prep just comes from leftover. It's not because we sat in the kitchen for 2 hours. It's just that when we made dinner, we made extra purposely
Mm-hmm.
so that we can leave it over. And I think the max that we go now with our preps is like maybe 3 days, because we don't prep that much because, again, not for nothing, it's not like we're trying to lose a bunch of weight anymore. And the meal prep doesn't have to be for life either. Meal prep is just getting started, familiarizing yourself with cooking food, preparing it for yourself, and leaving it ready for yourself so that you don't have to grab, some fast food or whatever the case.
Right.
So the beautiful thing about meal prep, like I said, you're introducing yourself back into cooking because you got to cook it yourself unless you purchase it from somebody. And that alone, you're learning more about food. You're cooking in it. You're cooking with it. You know what's going into your food. And again, that's such a great start. A lot of people go on and off about with meal prep. That's fine. That's fine. It doesn't matter. If you get off, just get back on if you want to. Prep for 1 day, prep for 2 days. Just keep it that simple. And there's one thing I'm going to leave it with. Cook what you want to eat. Do not cook something because you saw it on Instagram. Do not cook something because you saw it on Pinterest. Cook it because you want to eat it, not because it looks good. Now, yes, absolutely. A lot of the foods that you see that look good are good. But if you're just getting started with your meal prep and you're making something that you're not going to sure it's going to taste good, but it just looks good, Like, that I don't think that's going to be a good way to start, because what if you don't like the meal and then you made 3 of them? What are you going to do with those meals? And that's where I think we get a lot of the stories where people are like, well, I tried meal prep, but I threw the meals out. Well, did you cook something you really wanted to eat? And they're like, well, they don't have an answer. So that, I think, is one thing that a lot of people don't talk about when it comes to meal prep. Eat something you're going to like, and it'll work for you because you're eating something you want to eat. No, I'm not talking about that pizza. I'm talking about, pick your favorite health food and just try that. Just try that. Try your favorite vegetables. And don't tell me you don't have a favorite vegetable. You got some vegetables somewhere in there, and start with that. Start with something you're going to like, because that's going to give you more. It's just going to give you more intention to move forward, to do the meal prep again, because you liked what you ate. It's just like anything. It's like first impression is so important, and so that's the first impression of meal prep, the first meal. You cook something you really, really want to eat. Don't cook something that you're not sure of, or don't try anything new. Now's not the time to try something new. The new thing is a meal prep, but the food should be something you really like. When you can't wait to go eat that sucker. That's what you want. You don't want to just cook stuff that are not that is a first time thing. So that's my 2 cents on that. Recipes all day, but that's, to me, the most important thing. And I think that's going to be the biggest hurdle for people, is like the cooking. So use your oven, use your crock pot, use your blender, cook extra for dinner, leave leftovers purposely, and you'll be doing great. You take what I just said, you apply it, and you'll see changes. You will see changes.
I know a lot of people do meal prep because they want to like watch their weight, right? Or there's like, I know you had mentioned bodybuilders, because bodybuilders want to eat like 5 times a day and they want to make sure they're getting
Correct.
enough protein in. And so they've got all their little plastic Tupperwares filled with, this divided Tupperwares, like bento boxes filled with like their rice and their chicken and their broccoli or whatever. And there's
Yes.
like, they eat like 5 of them a day, right? Um, and now we're just, we're seeing that there's people who want to eat healthy, and it's not, maybe not necessarily about weight. I mean, I think it's great for weight too, because
Right.
if you don't have a plan, like, and I've done this so many times, like my husband and I have been gluten free for 7 years, and that alone helped us to avoid going through the Burger King drive through, because before we were
Nice.
gluten free, there was just like, oh, we're hungry. Oh, well, we've got a few more errands to run. Let's just go through the drive through, right? It's so easy to do that. But the
Of
second
course.
we're gluten free, it's like a little bit harder, because it's like
Mm-hmm.
unless you want to ask for, and we've done this, I mean, a long time ago, just the meat patty on like some lettuce. And then you do that once, you're like, I'm never doing that again. That was disgusting. That was, you're either gonna give up being gluten free and go back to the drive through with the bun, or you're gonna give up the drive through altogether. And so at that point, when we went gluten free 7 years ago, I had to get prepared. It's like, okay, we're going out for 4 hours. We're going to be doing a bunch of errands. Um, I need to prepare in advance. And so you throw some bananas and some almonds into your purse and you go, right?
Right.
But then there's this whole other like idea of food prep where you plan out 3 days in advance, and you've got your breakfast, lunch, dinner, and all your snacks all made and in the fridge. And so the guesswork's been taken away. So now there's willpower doesn't have anything to do with it, because the willpower isn't even a factor. You're not going to think, oh, should I get Starbucks? Shouldn't I get Starbucks? Or should I get a donut, or shouldn't I get a donut? Because you've got all your snacks and all your meals already made for the next 3 days, so you don't even have to think about it. You just know the second you get hungry, you reach into your bag and you've got your next snack or your next meal. And so I really like it like that. It helps to completely take away the guesswork when it comes to temptation, or those, oh, I wish I didn't do that, but at the time, it felt like a really good idea, but later on I regretted eating there or doing that. Um,
Yeah, I've been there.
and then also saving money. I cannot believe how much money we've saved this month. I actually have so much left over at the end of the month. It's near the end of March, right? And I'm looking at our bank account going, like, we have money, like we have a lot more money left over than I thought we would. And that's because we're not spending money on meat and we're not spending money eating out. Like
Correct.
meal
That's
prep.
one of those benefits that
Oh
you
my
asked me
gosh,
before of like,
so much
that is
money.
definitely one of them.
Yeah.
At the end of the month, we're like, look at that. It's incredible. And the funny thing is that I was one of those folks that said vegetables are expensive. I was one of those. I totally was.
Yeah.
But you know what? Then I would turn around and pay $2.50 for a Reese's Pieces. But I complained that tomatoes were too expensive. So those are those things you have to consider. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I did that to myself. I said to myself, I swear, it was so funny. I said, dude, you're complaining about those, and this was months ago. You're complaining about those prices, but you'll go and spend $250 or $350 on some Reese's Pieces, dude. Like, think about that for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's insane. And you get these two little Reese's cups that don't, it's peanut butter, but there's no serious, but there's other things that you still pay for that, and you get way more nutritional value, and you get more of it. So
Right.
it is right that the end of the month you save that money, and it's just crazy. I wanted to tap onto that, on what you were talking about before, with that it takes the guessing game out of what you're going to eat and all that kind of stuff. So I have had some people, and these are just for those folks that have the trouble with that, where they say, I have cooked it, and I've cooked several meals, but then I'll have one, but I won't eat the others. So slowly I'm doing more research on, like, I'm gonna start asking again on Instagram, because that's kind of how I started on my website. But I'm trying to find out, okay, when you didn't eat that food, let's think about it. Why didn't you eat that food? What was it? What stopped you from saying, you know what, I'm not going to take that lunch to work? Or you take it to work and you don't eat it. I've been there. It can happen. And like I said, the two things that I came up with, based off my experience, is, again, I made something that I didn't like, or that it wasn't the best.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day you take it to work and you're like, I don't know. And then you're looking at everybody leave from work, or like, such and such place is down the block from your house or your workplace or whatever. So, and then that kind of stuff happens. And then the other thing that I'm trying to figure out of why people have trouble where they don't end up eating their food, I think it's like a matter of, I think it's several things. Like I said, it's that fear of people, like, oh, people are going to see me watch, or they're going to watch me eating this at work, and they're going to think I'm weird. Or, just something along those lines of, like, worrying about what other people think. So those are the two things. And so that's why I say, like, for those people that have done meal prep, and like, something's not going right and they're not eating the food, look into that. And that's why I touched it, before. If you're not eating what you like, you're going to toss it. And that's where that waste of food comes in. And nobody wants to waste money or food, right? And the other thing, which, like I said, I kind of tapped on this, is that you have to focus. You got to focus on the end result, not in, like you said, like, well, I don't want to go through that. I don't want to go through that. No, it's finding out, okay, okay, I heard Ashley's podcast, and she said that if I do this, this, and this, or, not necessarily you as a doctor or anything, but I've heard several podcasts, and they're all said to do this, this, and this. Do it. Just do it. We're animals of complication. We complicate everything. We complicate everything. Let's keep it as simple as possible. And that's why a lot of people ask me, like, how'd you make so many changes so quick? I decided. That was it. I made a decision, and I made that decision based on the information that I found. And I found out that if I do this, I should end up with these similar results. Now, if you're doing this and you're doing this stuff as you were before, you're not doing it right. Obviously you're not doing it right, and you're not sticking to the role. I can't tell you how many times I followed a diet, but then I'd sneak out and do whatever the heck I'd want and be like, yeah, this diet doesn't work. It wasn't that, my friend. It wasn't that. So, from everything you hear on this podcast and what you read and all that, jot down the ones that really make sense to you and be like, I really want to feel like that, or I really want to, I feel like this, or I want this to go away, or I want that to go away. Make that list, write it down, and focus on that. That's where the mind's going to go. If you don't tell the mind where to go, it's going to keep wandering and wandering. and wandering. You got to say, this is where I want to go.
Mm.
And then it'll find the way, So you got to look at yourself in the mirror, literally and not literally. You got to feel yourself, and say, what's not right. I know this is not right, and, if I apply, meal prep, what's the result? Not the process, but what's the result? Maybe this or maybe the stuff that you wrote down. So that's another thing. Like I'm throwing these things out there to help your foundation of meal prep. That's going to be your foundation. If your foundation is not strong, it's going to keep falling. It's going to keep falling. So why meal prep? You want to feel better. You want to eat better. You want to learn more about food. What am I eating? What am I putting into my body? And understand the fact that whatever you're eating outside, you don't know what's in there. That's whatever they're telling you is whatever they're telling you, but even they're not sure. Okay. So focus on that end result. What's, meal prep. Oh, I got to cook. No, you don't have to cook. Well, of course you got to cook. I'm sorry. But that's not the focus. The focus is, what's it going to lead to?
Yeah, like,
what's it going to lead to?
I don't want to have Crohn's anymore. I don't want to be overweight, or I don't want to have diabetes, or I don't want to feel tired all the time, or,
Correct.
So that's what you don't want, right? So you got to acknowledge what you don't want and then acknowledge what you do want. I want to feel healthy. I want to feel strong. I want to have energy. I want to have clean skin and clear complexion. There's video footage of a woman in Florida in her like late 70s, and she doesn't have a wrinkle on her face, and she's vegan. And you see that over and over again, where you see, like you said, you and your wife, your skin is getting healthier and younger, and people are telling you and telling your wife, and only in the last 8 months of being plant-based, that you feel that you look so good. So it's like maybe someone wants to look healthier and feel healthier, but like if you attach your health goals and how you want to feel in 8 months to your meal prep, then you're going to keep doing it week after week. Whereas if you don't have any long-term motivation, you might try it for 1 week. So it's like this new exciting thing. You try it for 1 week, and then the next week you're back to your old habits. It's so easy to go back to old habits, and it takes a bit of effort to create new habits. I had on the show Glenn Livingston, who's a PhD psychologist, and he talks about willpower. And if you're using your willpower, it'll burn out. Because we have to use our willpower like 200 times or more a day, and it gets to a point where by 11 o'clock we have no more willpower left. But if you make it part of your character, so when I went gluten-free, I didn't realize it, but I actually made being gluten-free part of my character. And therefore, there's no willpower exerted or used when I go to make a food choice. I just, it's like saying I don't eat mud. Like I don't eat rocks, right? Like who I am is I don't eat mud, right? And so who I am is I don't eat barley, wheat, rye, and oats. I just don't. I don't eat any part of that. It's part of my character, right? So as being part of my character, then there's no willpower exerted. If there was gluten in front of me, even if it's the most delicious whatever, donut, pasta, whatever you name it, I'm sorry, I don't eat that, right? Then there's no willpower exerted. So in terms of meal prep, if meal prep is the strategy, along with all the wonderful foods you're using as your medicine, if meal prep is that way in which that you'll be able to get all these healthy foods in you day in and day out, then it's the vehicle, right? And then that becomes part of your character. So your character, I was going to
say the same thing.
Yeah. All right. That's part 1. Part 2 is episode 244. So go ahead and jump on over to episode 244 to check out the continuation of Alex's advice. And he gets into the kitchen and actually tells us the tools and some steps to take in the kitchen so that we can start our meal prepping journey. As always, thank you so much for being a listener of Learn True Health Podcast, and have yourself a fantastic rest of your day.